Hello everybody. Today I can solve right triangle word problems by reading carefully and using SOHCAHTOA. So at this point you should know how to do SOHCAHTOA, both finding sides and angles, and we're going to incorporate word problems into it. So it's all about reading carefully to get the numbers and the variables in the right spot, and once you have that, it's really nothing new. In the diagram below, a window of the house is 15 feet above the ground, and as you can see, that makes this side right here 15 feet, which is labeled in the picture already. A ladder is placed against the house, so here's my ladder. It helps to make things look like what they actually are, with an angle of 75 degrees with the ground. So we can see that's in the picture as well. The angle that the ladder makes with the ground is 75. Determine and state the length of the ladder to the nearest tenth of a foot. So we need to put an X on what we're trying to find. The length of the ladder. Well, making my ladder look like a ladder should be helpful. This is the length of the ladder. If it was asking for the height of the height above the ground of the window, then that would be this side right here, but it's not asking for that, it's asking for the length of the ladder. So I see a right triangle. Is there an angle involved? Yes. So I'm going to use SOHCAHTOA. Label your A, your O, and your H. This is my H. My angle connects my H to my A, which makes this my O. Out of A, O, and H, which two are involved? O is 15, H is X. Sine theta equals O over H. Substitute the values in. Theta is 75, O is 15, H is X. Since X is in the fraction, I'm going to cross multiply. Before I cross multiply, I like to type in sine of 75 into the calculator. Sine 75, I get 0.9659. Dot, dot, dot. There's more. I'm going to type the whole thing into the calculator in the next step. .9659 dot, dot, dot times x equals 15. To get x by itself, I'm dividing by 0.9659. So when I type that in, I'm going to hit 15 divided by, and I'm not going to type 0.9659. I'm going to tab up, hit enter to copy and paste that, and I get that. It wants me to round to the nearest tenth of a foot, so that's one decimal place. That would be 15.5. And that's my answer. So it's the same thing we've been doing. You just need to read carefully and make sure you get X in the right spot. Number 2, so there is one thing that's new here. And we're going to talk about the angle of depression and the angle of elevation. So the angle of depression is the angle looking down from the top of something. This thing right here is the angle of depression. The angle of elevation is the angle looking up at something. Now, since the horizon, that's what we call this when you look straight out the horizon, is parallel to the ground, it makes these alternate interior angles, which makes them congruent. So basically, what you need to know, and again, this is probably the one thing that's new for this lesson, is the angle of depression equals the angle of elevation. So the angle of depression is not inside the triangle. The angle of elevation is. So basically, whether it says angle of depression or angle of elevation, you're always putting it in the bottom. The angle of depression is equal to the angle of elevation. So if it gives you the angle of depression, you're going to fill in the angle of elevation with that same value. That's really the one thing that I'd say is new in this lesson that you haven't seen before. I just wanted to fix that. They were kind of blending together. Now, what's the question asking for? Determine to the nearest foot the horizontal distance x from the boat to the base of the lighthouse. Here's the boat, here's the base of the lighthouse, and in this example they were nice and they put an x in the picture. They may not put an x in the picture, so you need to make sure you understand where it goes. So now that I have that, label your h, your a, and your o. Determine if it's sine, cosine, or tangent. Substitute in, and then do your calculation. I want you to try this on your own at this point. It's very much like number one. It's very much like all of the SOHCAHTOA finding the sides that we've been doing. So please pause, finish number two on your own from here, and then unpause to see if you got it right. Okay, now that you tried number two on your own, I'm going to label my H, my A, my O. Which two are involved? Well, A is X, and O is 215. So since O and A are involved, so TOA, I'm using tangent. So let's see if I can find some space to actually work here. I feel like I don't have a lot of space. So let's see what I can find if I blow this thing up. I got enough space on the side here. So tan theta equals O over A. The angle is 26. The opposite is 215. The adjacent is x. Tan of 26, since x is in the fraction, I know I'm going to end up cross multiplying. First, I'm going to type in tan of 26. I get 0.4877. 0.4877 dot 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 equals 215 over x. Cross multiply and solve. 0.4877 dot 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 x equals 215. Divide by 0.4877 dot dot dot. Again, that just means that I'm not dividing by 0.4877. I'm dividing by that whole decimal that's in the calculator. So I'm going to do 215. Oops. 215 divided by, I'm going to tab up, enter. It wants me to round to the nearest foot, which is 0 decimal places, which would be 441. So for this question, you had to understand that the angle of depression is equal to the angle of elevation because they're alternate interior angles. So basically, no matter what, whether it gives you angle of depression or angle of elevation, that angle goes to the bottom of the triangle. In this case, it told you what you were finding, so that made that a little bit easier. But just make sure you read carefully to determine what you're finding. All right. Let's skip ahead to number 4. The diagram below shows the path a bird flies from the top of a 9.5 foot tall sunflower. So it's telling us that the sunflower is 9.5 feet tall, which it's giving us in the picture. It will not always give that to you in the picture. To a point on the ground 5 feet from the base of the sunflower, it gave that to us as well. find to the nearest tenth of a degree the measure of angle x. And again, they kind of gave us everything here, so this isn't that bad of a question. Because there's an angle involved, I know that I'm going to use SOHCAHTOA. I want you to take about 10 seconds to label your A, your O, and your H, and determine if we're using sine, cosine, or tangent. So label your A, your O, and your H, determine if it's sine, cosine, or tangent. Okay, we start with the H. The angle connects the H with the A, which makes this my O. Which two are involved? Well, O is 5, A is 9.5, TOA. Tan theta equals O over A. Theta in this example is X, O is 5, A is 9.5. Now, since X is with tan, since I'm finding an angle, I'm not going to cross multiply. Cross multiplication gets the X out of the fraction, but the X is not in the fraction. I need to get rid of tan, so I do inverse tan of both sides. I go to my calculator, I hit second tan, alpha y equals enter, 5 over 9.5. It wants the nearest tenth of a degree. That would be 27.8. And that's it. Make sure you read carefully. Make sure you label carefully. Once you have your picture, it's the same thing we've been doing. If there's an angle involved, we're going to use SOHCAHTOA. If there's no angle involved, we're going to use Pythagorean theorem. As a hint, I did not put any Pythagorean theorem problems in this particular sheet. You will see those in the next lesson. When we take away the pictures, and you have to make your own pictures. But from here, just make sure you read carefully, put an X in the appropriate spot, and then the math itself is nothing new for this lesson. It's the same thing we've been doing. And the one other thing that's new that we saw here is that understand if it ever talks about the angle of depression, the angle of depression is equal to the angle of elevation because they're alternate interior angles. So whether it's elevation or depression, we always put it at the bottom of the triangle. Your classwork/homework is to finish this, and I hope everybody has a great day.